Everyone thinks it takes 10,000 hours to master the violin, but that's wrong. You only need to practice the right exercises in the right order. After dedicating 30 years of my life and reading over 800 books, I created brand new exercises for the violin, allowing hundreds of my students to master their instrument in just a few easy steps. And today I'm gonna share with you the easiest exercises to the most complicated so that you can play the violin beautifully even if you only have 15 minutes a day. So, there is 3 technical practice blocks that you should practice daily: open strings, left hand exercises, and etudes. You should aim for 15 minutes a day per block, first only the open strings and left hand exercises, and later on doing etudes instead of open string exercises. And you should alternate those blocks equally, so that if Monday you practice open strings for 15 minutes, on Tuesday you will practice left hand exercises for 15 minutes. First, let's see how to practice open strings so that you can develop a beautiful sound. Open strings just mean that you play the bow without the left hand, like that. Here, the biggest mistake I see is that people who practice open string don't have any structure. So the first thing is that you need to define exactly in which tempo you're gonna practice. As standard, you could just start with tempo 60, and then you need to define which rhythm you are gonna practice. To begin, I will start always with half note, quarter note, and 8th note. Then you should first practice the different bow parts. If you are a complete beginner, you should really stick to the middle of the bow, but then later on the goal is really to practice at the frog, C1, that means really from here till there, like that. Or C4, that's the tip, from here till here. Or wall bow, from the frog till the tip. Here, the goal is to really learn the extreme part of the bow, so you should really go to the extreme and not stop like most people 5 or 10 centimeters before the frog or before the tip. And of course, when you practice those, the goal is to always stay in the same tempo, to practice always those different rhythms, and here to develop a beautiful sound. Okay, we don't want just to repeat. We want to experiment in one bowing part with one rhythm in one tempo, what we can do to increase the sound quality. And this is a very important part of the violin pyramid method that I teach my students. Then, the next thing you need to practice are dynamics. In the Violin Academy, for example, we start dynamic by level 2. And here, basically, what you want to practice is first just pianissimo, that means playing as soft as you can. Then fortissimo, playing as loud as you can. And then practicing crescendo, decrescendo. Okay, that means becoming louder. That's a crescendo. Or the opposite, becoming always softer. And here, the same. The difficulty with dynamics is to play in those different dynamics, yeah, pianissimo, fortissimo, crescendo, decrescendo, but to stay in one tempo and play the right rhythm. Actually, it's a very common beginner mistake to play faster when it's louder and to play slower when it's softer. So a good way to practice those is to do it with a metronome too. Then the next very important exercise is to practice bowing parallel to the bridge. Here you need to remember that from there to there in the middle of the bow, you need to do the movement only from the elbow, without moving the upper arm or the shoulder, like that. In opposite, when you go on here the frog, you need to move from here the shoulder. Then you go to here, and then the last part, you move the arm like that, with the elbow going on front. And because of that, when you practice bowing parallel to the bridge, you really need to practice part pro part. First, only the frog with the upper arm, only the tip with the upper arm too, and then the middle with only the elbow. And then first doing the wall bow. Then the next exercise to practice different bowing speeds. Here, for example, we'll practice those quarter notes in C third. That means from here till here, the third quarter of the bow. And for that, I will stay tempo 60. That means I have this speed. Now let's say I do the same exercise between C2 and C3. That means from there till there. Now I have 2 times the bow speed. And then let's say now I do it the whole bow. It's A from there to there. Now I have 4x the speed. And this is really important because when you play a piece, sometimes you can use a lot of bow and you should use a lot of bows, but it's really beautiful. But sometimes you need to use very little bow. And so it's very important to practice different bowing speeds. So I will now show you the left hand exercises. But if you want to learn to play the violin beautifully, I organize a free masterclass where I show you exactly what you need to do to master the violin. You can register with the link under this video. So the first exercises you should do for your left hand are 2-finger exercises, and first only on the D string. It will look like this. That's what I give my student on the 5 week. And basically there is not a lot of combination. You have 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and later on you can combine them. That's my 0 to 1 to 1, or 0 to 2, or 0 to 1, 2. Yeah, very important when you are doing that is how you practice them. What you want is that from the beginning, even if those exercises look very easy, is that you should be able to get the right note every single time, okay? With the right pitch, beautiful sound every single time, before you move to more complicated exercises. And first, you should focus only on one string, the D string, and not do like in Suzuki or those kind of things, every single string at the same time. And to practice them, I would really advise you to have some recording that you can practice with. For example, that's what I'm using with my student at the Violin Academy. They can play all exercise with me. Okay, and then they can loop it, use some metronome function, change the speed of it, and on top of that, of course, they have a teacher that checks what they are doing, if they are doing correctly, etc. Then the next exercises you need to do are practicing all 4 fingers on the D string. And first with this pattern you can see here, that means with second and third finger together, that's the second finger pattern. And here it's the same. Basically we want to practice every single combination between 2 fingers, then do combination between many fingers. That means first really aim to master every single 2-finger combination. Like for example those few ones, especially those with the 4th finger, like it's 3, 4, or 2 to 4. You will notice that here I want to practice putting the 3rd and the 4th finger on the string at the same time, and then 1 to 4. And here, the whole time, I want to let the 1st finger resting on the string when I'm doing that. And then, of course, you have combination with different tones. So like the standard scales, but on 1 string, or small scales with first only 3 fingers, and of course, some variation like the scale in 3rd, but on 1 string only. Then, when you have mastered the D string, it's time to start with the A string. That's what my students do on level 2. And here are the exercises. So basically the exercises are the same as on the D string, but with a few different things. First, I forgot to say it before, but every exercise you need always to practice in the 3 main rhythm: half note, quarter note, and 8th note. And this always in the same tempo. The second thing is that we mean to increase the tempo gradually. That means that on the D string we will start like a little slower, like tempo 45 per quarter note. Then when you go to the A string we'll move to 50, and so increase gradually the speed. Third thing is that here we introduce slurs, like you can see. So a slurs is when you play many notes in one bow, instead of playing them one after another. And here too, the main difference is that we are learning a new finger pattern. You can see it here. We have the first and the second finger together. And if you ask you why there is some H, it's because I wrote those exercises first for my students in Germany, but I'm French actually, but now we are translating everything in English. And here, very important, on the D string we learn this, and now we want to learn that. First finger pattern. Now the next one is the G string. Here we want to learn a new pattern, this one, the third one, with third and fourth finger together. And at the same time, here what I introduce a new rhythm, or to be more exact, new combination of rhythm. Instead of making a half note, quarter note, eighth note, we mix them. So we do like that. And then the same, always faster. And why are we doing that? Is to force us really to practice the different part of the bow with different rhythm patterns. And here, the exercise is the same as the A string, it's just the pattern that change on the rhythm we use. Then you need to learn the E string. On the E string, we learn a new finger pattern with all fingers spreading evenly. That's the fourth finger pattern that you can see here. And here I introduce a new rhythm too. It's irregular rhythm. So you can see I have a half note with a point and then a quarter note. So that it's always like that. Here the goal is to practice irregular rhythm because they are really hard for the bow. So like you can see, we are not only practicing the left hand, we are learning at the same time new rhythm, a new bowing pattern to practice the bow at the same time always. Then next you need to master string crossing. Until now we play only every single string without training string crossing, and those are the most difficult things. So here especially string crossing are difficult for the fourth finger, and that's the reason when you practice string crossing 80% of the time you should practice them with the fourth finger. Here is a very good exercise I wrote where basically you do the same on one string and then with the string crossing. So you can really feel that it's the same distance you have between the first and the fourth finger on one string or during a string crossing. And then you practice all combination, not only 1 to 4, but second finger on a high position to the fourth finger, the third finger to the fourth finger, and so on. So now we are gonna start the 1 octave exercises in all major tonalities. Here the big problem is that everyone starts with those right from the start. Actually, I give that to my students first in level 3, okay? So not in level 1, not in level 2, in level 3. And that's very important. You should master all previous things before starting this. So, in the 1 octave exercise, there is always 3 different exercises. The first one is a scale, like you can see here, and we will always start with the easiest one. So this is, for example, D major. And this is the first part. But the problem is that most people practice only scales. Scales is just one exercise from 3 we do at this level. The second one are scale of third. Scale of third is when you go 2 notes up, then 1 note down. 2 notes up, 1 note down. It makes this. And then when you go down, you do the opposite. You go 2 notes down, 1 note up, 2 notes down, 1 up. And those are really important because they are really like basic blocks that you will find in every single piece. And then the last exercise is our arpeggios. Very important arpeggios. So an arpeggio, basically, it's a set of 3 or 4 notes in one tonality. So here, that's the first one. And those are really important because they always have a lot of string crossings. And string crossing is one of the most important things to do and the most difficult to do, so you should really do a lot of arpeggios. And then you will do that for all major tonality. D major, G major, A major, then B major, F major, okay, the main tonalities. And when you master that, and it could take some time, then you could move on to the next exercises. The next exercises, I give them to my students first on level 6. And here, the goal is to master the complete first position. For this, what we do is that no matter which tonality we are in, we always practice starting from the G open string till the fourth finger on the E string. I don't like 2-octave exercises because what happens when you practice 2-octave exercises, like most people, is that there is not a lot of tonality first that have 2 octaves on the first position, so you end up practicing only 2 or 3 tonalities, and on top of that, you never quite practice the fourth finger on the E string. So here the principle, the same, we have first the scale, but going from G to fourth finger on the E string. On here too, we practice in the main rhythm. Half note, quarter note, eighth note, and here we want to be quicker to 16th note. And here, with the time, we could increase the speed too. We should start at tempo 60 and then increase till tempo 120. And here, the same will change every month, later on every week, the tonality. Starting with C major, then going to G major, then F major, to see all major tonality. And this time we want to go as far as 5 sharps or 5 Bs. Then again we have the scale in third, but on the complete first position. Then we have the arpeggio. Here you will see that now we have not 2 arpeggio but 4 different ones. And this is really good for string crossing again, amazing. And then something new is the chromatic scale. Chromatic scale is that you play every half tone after another, like that. And this is very good for intonation and at the same time to practice moving the same finger on a string from one position to the next one. And basically, until you master really the first position, you should not start the third position. Then, starting at level 5, you should begin practicing etudes. And to begin with, I would really advise to start with the Wolfart etude, okay? They have everything you need to master the first position. And here, I would advise you to use the etudes instead of the open string exercises. Because now we are going to practice the bow with the left hand together with the etudes. And here you should not forget something, is that the how is really more important than what. That's the same for everything you saw today, but now for the etude, let me show you a little bit the how. So this is, for example, the first study from Wolfart. And like you see, it looks like very simple. If you do like most people and just trying to play that, play that, play that, you will not get a lot out of it. So basically, there is 2 types of variation you should practice with etude. The first one are left hand variations. Left hand variation, it means that instead of playing the whole piece in 8 notes, you will play it with different rhythm. So it could be first everything in half note, everything in quarter note, before you really play it in 8 note. Or maybe you don't need to play it in 8th note if you're a beginner. Then you could do other variation with special rhythm. Like for example, I could do this. What I did was I played 2 quarter note and then 2 8th note. And I could do like that a lot of variation. Then I could practice it with 2 notes very fast on the pause. Pause. Pause, pause. Then I could do 3 notes instead of 2, for example. Pause, pause, and so on. And there is a lot of possible variation. Then the next variation that I think are way more important are bow variations. Here you can see a few of the variations I give my students for this etude. First, not playing starting down bow, but playing up bow. Then, of course, we could practice it all at the frog or practice the whole etude at the tip of the bow. Then we could do it with different slurs. So this one is really interesting because we have 2 notes together, then 2 notes détachées. Alternating both. Then this is just the opposite. Here we have an irregular combination with 3 notes in one bow and then 1 note alone. Here, important is always to come back to the same point. And then the opposite. And this is too very important. When you make a variation, practice the opposite variation too. And then you have long slurs, of course, yeah, like 4 notes in a bow or 8 notes in a bow. That's all for today. Thanks you for watching.